friends. It is Marissa Friedman, your friendly executive cat herder and founder of Strategy Solved. So this week, you know how I do this. I don't do the overwhelming amount of content every day because there's not always something special to share every day. So what I thought I would do was really kind of set some expectations. And please, 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 if you see something or you're commenting and you want more information, comment, use the comments. That's what they're there for. So right now we're streaming on Facebook, Facebook Live, across all of these things. Thank you to those of you in the Strategy Solve group that are hanging out with us today, LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So why am I having this conversation? I think some of us have been really obsessed lately about this idea of legacy. And there's not an entrepreneur that I don't meet that doesn't have this need to, like, they say things like, oh, I want to build a legacy. And then I'll ask them, okay, tell me more about your business. Tell me more about the things that you've done to protect the assets that you have for you and your family. And then they'll say, oh, well, like, I'll do that when I X, Y, and Z. And so some of these people are making, I know one particular entrepreneur, she's just got like $1 million kind of sitting in a couple of different bank accounts. And wherever you are in the stage of growth, whether you're kind of growing kind of exponentially, or you're going to have major life changes, or you're going to, hey, someone's offering you shares to work in your company. You guys know how I feel about advising for equity. I wanted to bring in people that were trustworthy, that had experience in the industry, and that could really kind of align and bring some of these conversations to be really accessible. Because I think when we hear certain words, when we hear about like what an asset protection strategy is, when we talk about wealth managers, I think somewhere along the way we remember being in our corporate jobs, someone in HR handing us a folder and saying, here's your Merrill Lynch thing for the bank. They're going to give you a little bonus if you do some direct deposit. And what do? You put it in there and you don't think about it. And as we know, right, things right now are changing so quickly that it's great to have a team of trusted advisors and people that you can bring around you to just kind of help you take all of this stuff and make it really digestible. And you guys know my whole philosophy is let's take you from confusion to clarity. So I'm going to bring in a friend of mine, Ryan Bohm, to kind of talk to us. He is from Andina Family Offices. Now, if you read the description of the live stream, comment, I see those of you that are on here, you'll learn more about what he does. But I'm going to bring him in here because the best person to explain it is the person, that I know. I think our live stream person is a little bit lost. We have one more person that'll be joining us shortly, so it'll just be a second. All right. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I think that's our friend Eric. He's lost. I think StreamYard is definitely a newer technology for all of us, right? So, why don't you take a second to introduce yourself to people? We've got people kind of coming in and out. This is kind of how this process works. Everyone's busy, and so what happens is what's happening live will tend to kind of replay throughout the day in the next 24 hours. So kind of introduce yourself to kind of everybody.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Ryan Bohm. I'm with Andina Family Offices and Andina Advisors, and we're a wealth management, a comprehensive wealth management firm that really focuses on strategy and especially helping those who are, higher net worth. And as you mentioned, Marissa, it's a really interesting time. A lot's going on between, the Fed and inflation and the economy in general. And most people are really concerned and confused. They hear a lot of different things and they just don't know where to turn. And so, our focus is really creating that relationship of trust, helping people navigate all these super complex issues and help them get to somewhere where they're comfortable and they feel confident in what they're doing moving forward.
So I brought kind of some of this too. I work with a group of people. They're kind of early stage emerging entrepreneurs. And they had some very specific questions that I kind of crowdsourced because I think, again, when we say these things, specifically kind of culturally as well, I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm not going to call her out specifically, but she owns a restaurant, right? And we were talking about how the restaurant is structured and set up. And so would it surprise you to know that there's tons of commingling? There's not a great kind of accuracy in how they do things. And so what's really interesting is essentially like how that process is happening. I'm going to give a shout out. I think it looks like Anna. Hey, Anna, nice to see you. New York Times bestselling author Anna David joining us really quickly. Hey there. Nice to see that comment. So let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit more about like things that people are doing that they haven't thought of. And that's because their parents maybe brought that kind of legacy into them. And it looks like Eric made it. So I'm going to bring him on as well. I'm going to welcome Eric Barlow. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hey
Nice
guys,
to
how are you? It's good to be here.
Good to see you. So, I was asking kind of Ryan the question of, I talk to a lot of people that have their companies like in their names. They're commingling funds. And these are businesses that have been around for like 5 or 10 years, right? Brick and mortar businesses. They've weathered the pandemic. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I think someone said something really interesting. They don't understand it in plain English. And if they can't understand it, they don't know how to trust it. So I want you to kind of talk to people like they're in sixth grade.
Yeah,
Why would, and I'll keep this in mind, she's a single mom with 2 children.
sure.
So that's a red flag, right?
It's most people don't know what they don't know. And the fact of the matter is, doesn't matter what school you went to, doesn't matter how sophisticated you are, how much money you have, how successful you've been in your business. What we do, most people just don't spend time in that. Most people, we don't speak Chinese, right? So we don't know those things. And financial planning, financial strategies, the complex issues that we deal in, tax, investing, estate planning, etc. That's just not stuff that 99.9% of people have any experience with. They don't know it. There's no way they could know it, right? And so they're so busy in their businesses. So take this person, for example. She's so busy running her business day to day, 24/7, making payroll, creating new, products, new solutions, new dishes, that the last thing she has is hours in the day to study the tax code and hours in the day to understand complex legal strategies that she needs. But at the same time, those strategies are going to protect her if needs be. They're going to, minimize taxes, maximize returns, etc. All these things that she needs, but there's really no way, unless she decides to become an expert in those things, for her to know what it is that she needs to be doing. So it's not a knock on her by any means. There's no reasonable person that would know these things. And so that's why people hire us, is to leverage our expertise, just like I have a tax professional who works with me, because I just don't have the time nor the desire to get into the nitty-gritty of all those things. And so I bring in those professionals to teach me what I don't know.
Yeah, and I might just make one comment there also, Marissa, that I think is really important, and that is a lot of what we deal with is in that important but not urgent section of getting priorities done. So in the example you gave, they have everything commingled all under their own name, and all of a sudden a skateboarder's coming down the street, hits something and ends up flying into the yard, hitting their head on a rock. All of a sudden they're in the middle of a lawsuit, and all of a sudden all of their assets that are all commingled are all at risk. And they've never really thought about that because it wasn't on fire until it was on fire. And so how do you make sure you think ahead of these things and protect yourself from the unseen?
Yeah, and I think, just to level set the conversation, I know people are coming in and out. Our friend Anna David hopped in. It looks like Sarah Pugh's on. It looks like we've got probably 5 or 6 people. Hi to all of you on LinkedIn. When we kind of talk about things like asset protection and we talk about this, there's a lot of people that do what I do in the industry. And so constantly startups are saying, oh, like, do stuff for part equity and do stuff for this, right? And I personally am going to give an example. I learned this the hard way, right? When someone gave me a hybrid of cash compensation and equity and shares and things happened, I put everything in my own name. And I can tell you that was the biggest mistake I've ever made from a tax. Like, I was like, I didn't know what to do. They sent me a form, I filled it out, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And so my goal is not only to kind of spread this message of, hey, when you get to a certain stage, it looks like this. But hey, when we're planning and we do a business plan, right? A lot of times people are focusing on their metrics and their revenue. They're not looking at risk. They're not looking at the fact that they started a business maybe before they got married, and then they got married and maybe there is a separation or a divorce, and now there's a problem within and kind of there's the business is at risk, right? So I think when we look at, and I spent some time really kind of understanding your model and what you do, you really have a personalized approach, right, to how you do everything. So, it's not like I'm going to walk into, I'm not going to name the retailer, right? But I'm not going to walk into somewhere and you're going to give me something off the shelf, right? You're going to take some time to develop kind of this comprehensive plan and kind of this monitoring of what my goals are and what some maybe preservation or building strategies could look like, right? So it's not a one size fits all. It's a kind of tailored solution based on a couple of things. And I would love to hear kind of more about that, because I feel like people have a mindset of around, wealth and legacy. And my fear is, as many of my friends have learned, that they are investing in kind of these gurus and different things, which, okay, great. Like, I understand someone's great at talking about a concept, but I look at you guys as the real kind of long-term partners for someone that are trusted advisors and counsel. And so can you talk a little bit more about what that personalized planning process kind of looks like, what someone could expect?
Sure. Maybe I could just take first stab at it, Ryan. So when we approach a business owner or a high net worth individual for planning, let's start with the business owner. With the business owner, there's really three legs to the stool, right? They have their business, which is, making sure they're accelerating the value of their business and driving revenue and having employees be responsible and accountable and reporting. There's all those things on the business leg. But then you have the financial leg, which is their personal financial planning. It's in this leg where we come in and we do a lot of deep work on deep tax planning. If we can get in early enough, it could save a business owner millions of dollars on exit. And that's not an exaggeration. If they're going to exit for millions of dollars just by doing some simple planning and structuring in advance, not only can it save them significant income taxes, but also what it can do in the way of estate taxes as their asset grows and grows and grows. And then the last leg is personal. And that is, at some point, they might want to sell their business. And the problem a lot of business owners have is their whole identity's been tied up in this business for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Now they're selling off their baby. And now what do you do? And so we help them identify what the road forward looks like. And so we're working on all three legs of the stool for a business owner to make sure that they're hitting all of the bases. And so just under the financial leg, for instance, that's a lot of stuff. I mean, you're talking about tax planning, you're talking about asset protection, which you just brought up. You're talking about deep estate planning. You're talking about legacy planning. You're talking about money management, asset management. You're talking about making sure your risks and insurances are all in place so one event can't destroy you. So it's a lot of things encompassed just in that one leg. And then, of course, in each of those other legs, there's a lot of sophistication and a lot of detail in every one of them. And when we get in an engagement, the strength of our engagement, if there's anything we sell, if someone said, Eric, what does your firm sell? Well, what we sell is a process that we very systematically take our clients through, that we uncover and we find out where they are today, what their dreams and aspirations are, and then structuring and helping them get a plan in place to get them marching down the road to where they want to be. And then in the case of a business owner, help them through an exit and all that comes after that exit. Ryan, do you have anything to add to all that?
No, I think, maybe the only thing I would just say is that this is a relationship business, and it's all about trust, and it's all about confidence in that, because we don't know what's coming down the pike. We don't know definitively what the Fed's going to do this next meeting and things like that. But what we do know is that we have time-tested strategies. We have, great expertise. We've been there. We've done it in whether it's real estate or the public equity markets or the private equity markets, all of these different places. We work with our clients in all these aspects. And so we know that whatever comes down the pike, whatever the next thing is, the next tax change, we have experts who are going to be able to figure out the strategy, help customize it. We talk about a bespoke strategy, or be able to come into your specific situation and say, this is how it applies to you and your business. And how do we take advantage of these laws and implement something that is specific to you? Because, you can watch a webinar, you can, talk to listen to the talking heads, and they have good sound concepts, but it just might not be applicable to your specific situation. So you really need someone who understands your situation and then helps to create a path, that methodology that Eric's talking about. How do you implement that into your life, and what do the next 6 months, 12 months, couple years look like?
And I do want to give him a shout out. It looks like Zachary's on here talking about your ability to listen as well. So I just appreciate everyone that's kind of hanging out with us and kind of commenting and spreading the message. I think what's really interesting is both of you have the same approach. It's just the vernacular and the verbiage of which you approach it is so great, because I think that's what people need. I think a lot of times when we step into things that are uncomfortable, like money, right? We talk about culture, we talk about women, we talk about the rise of the female entrepreneurs, right? I happen to be Latina and Filipino, right? Latinas are opening businesses for, I think it's like, 4 to 1 out of any, culture in the country. A Latina woman turns 18 every 30 seconds for the next 25 years, right? So they're very entrepreneurial. The challenge is we inherited terrible money habits. We have no idea what to do. We start things, we don't set them up, we don't necessarily take it all to completion. And so what I've heard and kind of understanding kind of your process is that you have some designations as well that really kind of do that. I want to say, is it that exit planning designation that you guys have that really, I think, is the core differentiator in some of the models that you guys are doing. And I think I really want to highlight there, maybe start with Ryan and then kind of go to Eric. I know that is a key differentiator, I think, especially for entrepreneurs and people that are really looking to, at this stage, maybe exit or plan to exit a company. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. A strategic initiative for our firm has been business owners and their business exits specifically. And so pretty much everyone in our firm went and got a designation called the Certified Exit Planning Advisor. And really what that designation means and what's behind it is a specific methodology of taking business owners from, I'm 60 years old, I've been running this business for 25, 30 years. What's my next phase? Where do I go from here? How do I transition? Because that business owner probably, even though they know it's extremely important, if you ask them what's the future look like, they're going to say, this is super important. And then you're going to say, well, what have you done about it? And they will say, nothing. I have no written plan. I don't know what my succession looks like. I've read a few books, I've been to some seminars, but do I have a step-by-step process for the next 4 years till I transition out, sell my business, and then what do I do next? It's almost never happens, frankly, across the country. So there's trillions and trillions of dollars of value. There are tens of thousands of businesses that have baby boomer owners, or frankly, younger owners who maybe started in the tech business or whatever. It doesn't matter the age, but the fact is there's so many business owners in America who just don't know what to do now. They've created this golden goose.
They don't know what they don't know.
They don't know.
It all comes back to that. And they don't think about that. They think about right now, right? And Eric, you and I have had these conversations, right? Like the ideal world, everyone would stumble upon an Andina Family Services. They would know what to do once they hit, 10, 15 million. Once they hit that mid-market approach, they'd really do things. But in order to do that, they have to have a blueprint ahead of time to set up structures and to have vetted vendors. And I think what happens is people always tend to work with people that, they know, like, and trust. But the reality is if I am just some independent person out in, Utah, and I don't really know anyone and I'm newer and I'm starting a business, I don't know what that looks like yet. Right. So I know that, based on kind of what I've seen and what I know to be true after kind of meeting with Eric is that the people that I've sent over have been so incredibly happy and so kind of like, wow, they really made it comfortable. And I'm not going to name names, but, some of the things, and I've got people kind of texting me on the phone right now going, this is so cool. Right. And I think it's, you guys are kind of these unsung kind of behind the scenes guys doing the work. Right. And I think it's hard when you guys are really good at what you do. This kind of thing, me saying, hey, I want to interview you guys is like, what do you want to talk to? Like, what are you going to talk to us about? Right. And so I appreciate you guys doing that. Now, Eric, give me your perspective as well, because Ryan kind of touched on, kind of the SEPA and all of that. But how do you see that integrated with what you guys have been doing kind of recently, say in the last 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah, I think a really good example of this, Marissa, is, an investment banker met with a business owner not too long ago. This is a true story. And he sat down with the business that had talked to him about engaging. And he basically went through an evaluation process. And he saw that, let's say a normal business has a valuation, of say 3x to 10x of their EBITDA, that they'll be able to kind of fall in a range there. Well, this particular business fell below the range. meaning that they had set up a lifestyle business, which a lot of businesses are lifestyle businesses. But the problem with lifestyle businesses is that they're not sellable because everything falls back onto the owner. The key relationships are on the owner. All the key suppliers are on the owner. All the revenue being driven is by the owner. And so what this investment banker did is he sent that client back to a SEPA certified planner to say, look, we need to help you with value acceleration. That's a real important term, because what that means is that business owner then can hire a team to do a complete analysis of where they are in that valuation stream. So let's say if 10x is top, 3x is bottom, they came in at a 4.2. Well, through what is called the readiness and attractiveness score, which is part of this whole analysis that's done along with an appraisal, they come back and say, look, you're at a 4.1, but here's all the levers you can push to start moving that valuation up. So what we do is we help them go in, identify, maybe there's 20 levers. I'm just throwing out a number. And then we say, here's the top 3. We get busy on those top 3. We set goals around it with the management team of the company. We then do 90-day sprints to get those 3 things done. And then at the end of the quarter, we say to the business owner, okay, you're now at a 5x. Do you want to sell now, or do you want to keep driving value? If they say, look, let's keep driving value, then we go in and we pick the next 3 things. Do it the same thing again, 90-day sprints, move those levers, have the management team, responsibility, report cards, all these things coming back on these key metrics, and we help them drive the value of the business up.
Yeah.
So there's an additional
awesome.
value that we're offering that's just not out there by financial planners anyway.
Well, and I think it's more of like a holistic approach to a unique set of problems that someone might have. And I think that's the difference when you have a solid team with experience, because I think a lot of us that are kind of earlier stage in our journeys, like I'm very risk averse, right? Like I have zero problem paying taxes. And so I was in a conversation with somebody, it was cracking me up. Their advice was like, someone had given them advice. They paid a coach. I won't name names because that's just mean. Although some of you watching know who this person is. You know, they really. I don't know who's saying this, but they are saying I'm loving it. This is so fun. They were like, hey, like this person told me that I should pay myself the least amount possible to avoid tax, and I was like, I am not a tax advisor. I am not any of those things. But what I can tell you is that at some point you're going to need to buy property, a car. Like you're going to need to buy.
You have to qualify for some credit.
And so if your income says that you make $22,000 a year, yeah. I can guarantee you that that's probably not going to be the sexiest strategy to get things done for your long-term.
Well, not only that, Marissa, it affects your ability to fund a pension plan.
Exactly.
It's the old saying that, you know, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. You want to be a pig. You don't want to be a hog.
Well, and
there's
yeah, 100%.
For sure.
Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out to Antonio Quinones. He's great. He's a leadership expert, kind of C-level guy, and a couple of people. Yeah, I think everyone's kind of relating. Like this works until you try to buy something and don't qualify. So this is the kind of feedback I love when we do these things, because like I said, people will come on, they'll come off, they'll come back, they've got calls. But one of the core things here is if you've paid a business coach, I'm going to say coach, right? Coaching is a scary industry because I feel like, especially I live in San Diego, right? You can't trip without meeting a coach. And so I'm always asking these questions. And so if I meet someone that's hailing themselves as a financial coach, for example, right? I'm looking for very specific indicators. I'm not looking for a Maserati or a luxury vehicle. I'm looking for the indicators that someone is kind of invested in themselves. And then, you know, what did they do beforehand? And so I remember one of my clients said, I really want to hire this guy. I would really love for you to talk to him. So I just started asking questions. You know, I just kind of said like, hey, like, so what did you do ahead of time? Now, mind you, you guys know me. I did a deep dive. I Google searched him. He had been a manager of a Toyota dealership, right? And a poor performing one at that, right? And I was just kind of like, can you walk me through the journey of what it was like for you to be a manager at a car dealership and now you're giving financial advice? You know, I'm just not really sure. What certifications do you hold? What's the, you know, and so what was really interesting is he kept talking to me that my wealth mindset wasn't in the right place. And it was just really funny because I was like, you know, if there's anything I've learned over the years, you know, rich is loud and wealth is quiet. And I think the challenge is my job and my mission is to really demystify this stuff, because I feel like a lot of times people are just digesting the cool, sexy content, And this is the stuff that actually moves the needle and makes the difference, right? This is the stuff that, if you're watching, and for those of you that are texting me, I'm not going to do personalized questions. Sorry guys, love you so much. If you want to do that, there's a website that is scrolling on the bottom. That is where you can do all of that. In the comments, I commented where you can kind of learn more about them. And I will share this kind of page with everybody, because everyone's like, well, where's their website? Where is this? Okay, guys, I can't do everything,
And we might. And
this is a one-woman show, okay?
But Advisors.com also on there, because that's kind of the new and updated one. I think it's Family Offices I'm seeing, but
yeah. So we've got this one too, right?
Okay, great.
So, yeah, this is the website, guys. So it's going to give you the full range of what they do. If you're not sure of what they, if they can help you or not, I'm 6.2% sure they'll talk to you, and they might give you a plan to give you, hey, this is, you're not 100% here yet, but you could be in a very short period of time, right? So anyway, this is kind of Andina's kind of website. You can go on there, you can learn about them. I've, linked all of the kind of principals and managing partners into kind of the live stream kind of natively on LinkedIn, because I feel like, again, if I can be a voice to help people navigate this, can you ask them about her? Okay, this one's actually a great question. So I did get a question that was really interesting that I think you can answer. When someone comes in, what are the questions, what do you think that like maybe the top 2 or 3 things people ask you are? Like, say there's a high performing entrepreneur, they built a service-based business, they have some recurring revenue, and they go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but Marissa said I should talk to you, or someone should talk to you. Like, what are the top things that, and Antonio wants the recording. I don't know, Antonio, I could probably give you the recording, but I'll have to ask Eric and Ryan. But you can connect with them. I'm sure they're happy to do that. I don't know if everyone's seeing this. This is why I love the internet, guys. This is like lead gen 101, right? Comment hello, and I'll make sure that they get back to you. But what are maybe the top 3 things and questions that you guys hear? Because I'm sure it's kind of like me, right? The top 3 things that I hear from everybody is the same, right? It's like, I want to go viral. And I'm like, hope is not a strategy, right? Like, going viral is not the strategy, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, welcome to the world of the internet. Or someone says, I want you to do all of the social media. And I'm like, there's 500 social media platforms. Like, which ones are we going to focus on? I can't do all of them, right? I'm pretty good, but I'm not that good.
I think probably the biggest thing, Marissa, and then Ryan, you could speak to this also. There's really no one in an entrepreneur's life that knows where all the bodies are buried, who knows where everything is. And that's our job. We come in and we get to know the entrepreneur extremely well. We know where all their personal assets are. We help them organize those, simplify those. We get reporting in place. It's very straightforward for them to follow and to be able to pull up on their own. I mean, they can click on 2 buttons and they have their balance sheet ongoing, where we've linked in everything that's currently electronic. And then from there, once we have an overall picture, because this is the comment they say is, look, my situation is getting out of control. I don't have time to spend on the financial leg. Remember the 3 legs of the stool: business, financial, personal. That financial leg is not getting the attention it needs. And so they have a lot of questions around each of those pieces. We hear a lot of questions around estate planning. You brought up a great point at the beginning about asset protection. That gets asked a lot. Tax planning, for sure, hands down, gets asked a lot, and what they're going to do. And usually there's tens of thousands of dollars to be saved in taxes just by getting a full engagement. Because most of you out there who are dealing with your CPAs realize they're really good at reporting, but not so much good at advising and finding strategic ways to reduce taxes. And so we're looking for ways to get in. And, our biggest goal is to save as much as we can in taxes without making the IRS our partner. They're horrible partners. And so we don't want them as our partner, but we want to pay as little as we can, being as conservative as we can. We're not aggressive, nor do we want to be. If you're wanting a real aggressive firm that's going to go out and try to swing for the fence, we're not it. But what we do know is what can be done and the strategies that can help. So I think taxation gets asked a lot. Another big concern, and then I'll turn it over to Ryan, would be, I have this wealth I've created. I'm going to exit this business. I'm going to have 20, 30, 80, $100 million. I don't want to ruin my kids. How do I then set up a legacy that's going to be lasting? Because most of you have all heard the stats before, 85% of the wealth created is wiped out by the end of the 3rd generation. 85%. So how do we become part of that 15% that hangs on to it into future generations to make life-changing differences in our families into future generations? That gets asked a lot. I don't know if you'd add anything to that, Ryan.
I think great ideas, and I can second all of those things. The only thing I would maybe say is all of the questions kind of have the same genesis, and that is, am I going to be okay? Are we on track? Like that's the core of, I want to save in taxes and estate planning, and I want to manage my assets correctly and everything else. And so, kind of a foundational component of what we do every time is we're drilling down to get to that core. What is the actual question that you're asking? When you come to me and say, I want you to take a look at my situation, what most people are really asking once we get to know them is, are we going to be okay? Can we achieve our dreams? We've worked for so long for something that maybe we don't even quite know what it is, like that thing, retirement or whatever. We're going to help people define that and flesh it out and make it real so that they know, hey, I actually can sell my business and then go do that philanthropic dream that I've had, or I can go do the next business, or I can do whatever, because I know we've checked all the boxes, we've crossed the T's, we've dotted the I's, and I'm comfortable staying in my lane, which is this expertise that I've built up because I have this team behind me, and I don't have to worry about that foundational question that I have is getting answered. And that's where the peace of mind comes, and people are able to just feel great through that process.
And one thing, let me just add one thing to that, just real quick. So part of that initial analysis I talked to you about when we're helping business owners accelerate value is taking a look at what's called the wealth gap that ties exactly into what Ryan is saying. And that is, look, they have a business that, say, after we do the analysis, worth $7 million if they sold it today. Well, we do what's called the wealth gap, saying, well, what do you actually need through retirement to last you the rest of your life, invested at a conservative number. And then we build out to say, okay, you need 12 million to reach all those goals and all the things you want to do. And that's where that value acceleration comes in, is now we can help them drive value up to where we get rid of that wealth gap and get them to a point where they know they're going to be okay.
Yeah. And I think, what I heard as a, older millennial, we're a little feely. You think we're feely, Gen Z is even more Philly, right? But I think what I heard through the lines is a very millennial track, and that is a safe space, right? I think, I hate saying, right? But I'm barely, right? I just turned 40, literally, like not even 7 days, right? So I'm like, it's the safe space, right? I mean, yeah. That's what it is. It's the place to come in where you can be dumb and it's okay, and no one's going to treat you like an idiot, and they're just going to walk you through it. So, I appreciate you guys taking, time out of your day. I know you guys are super busy. I know for those of you that have been coming in and out, Anna, Zach, Antonio, Jeremy, right? Like there's so many people that are like blowing up my phone right now. Yes, these people are available to you. However, just a couple of things to note. Number one, go through the website, go through the appropriate channels. No one is going to give you, you need to invest time into this process. It's not going to be something that you solve over a text message. It's going to require in-depth conversation. I know how impatient my audience is. They're very I haven't done anything in 10 years. Let's get this done in 3 weeks. So just setting expectations for everyone, I think, is really important. And also, I think I really appreciate you guys coming on here, because I know this is not your normal thing, right? You don't love to live stream, right? This is not like, you're not like, hey, every week I'm going live on Facebook, right? This isn't a top priority for the business. So I just appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you setting this up and taking the time.
Of course. And again, you guys, the website has been scrolling. I posted it in the comments multiple times. Go ahead and post on the live stream based on some of the text messages and things that I'm getting kind of in the background. We will set this up to restream at 4 o'clock, meaning that this live will replay at 4 p.m. PST, be 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And you do the math on everything else, because my brain can't handle that right now. That's not my strength or skill set. That's why I know Eric and Ryan. So I will let everybody go with that. Again, Ryan Bohm, Eric Barlow from Andina Family Services. I appreciate all of you guys for coming in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hold
Great.
on one second.
Okay.